I'm 84 years old, and I've lived most of my life with a quiet feeling I could never explain. Not sadness exactly, not anger, just a hollow place that never seemed to fill, no matter what I put around it. At this age, you don't lie to yourself much anymore. There's not enough time left to keep pretending you don't know the truth. So I'm saying this now because I don't have much else to lose. I wake up early these days, earlier than I need to. My body does that on its own now. The house is usually silent, except for the refrigerator humming and the sound of my own breathing. Sometimes I sit at the kitchen table before the sun comes up and just look at my hands. They look like they belong to someone else. I think about how many mornings I rushed through without noticing anything. How many days I treated like stepping stones to something better that was always just ahead. I thought that feeling empty was normal. I thought it was just part of being an adult. No one ever told me otherwise. When I was younger, I believed a full life was something you built later. You worked first. You proved yourself first. You earned rest, meaning closeness. That was the order. At least that's what I thought. In my 20s, I didn't feel empty yet. I felt busy. Busy feels like purpose when you don't know the difference. I had a job that paid enough. Not great, but steady. I rented a small place with thin walls. I owned 2 plates, 3 glasses, and a radio that only picked up one station clearly. I told myself this was temporary. Everything was temporary. I met people. Some stayed longer than others. There were conversations that could have gone deeper, but I didn't push them there. I was tired a lot, or I said I was. I kept telling myself I'd slow down later. Later when I was more stable. Later when things were clearer. Later when I had time. In my 30s, life started to look respectable from the outside. A better job, longer hours, a sense that I was moving forward. People stopped asking if I was okay and started saying they were proud of me. That felt good. I didn't question it. I measured my days by what I got done, what I crossed off lists, what I postponed without consequence. If something didn't demand immediate attention, it waited. That included people. There were dinners I skipped because I was tired. Phone calls I didn't return because I'd get to them later. Moments where I chose quiet productivity over shared silence. None of those choices felt cruel at the time. They felt reasonable, responsible even. I didn't feel empty yet. I felt useful. In my 40s, the cracks started, but they were easy to ignore. I'd come home and sit down, and the room would feel oddly still. Not peaceful, just still. I filled it with noise. The television stayed on whether I was watching or not. Weekends filled with errands so I wouldn't have to sit too long with myself. I told myself this was adulthood, that everyone felt like this but didn't talk about it. There were people who tried to get closer to me then. They asked questions I answered halfway. They waited for something I never quite gave. I wasn't withholding on purpose. I just didn't know how to stop holding myself back. I thought being needed was the same as being known. I was wrong, but I didn't realize it yet. The emptiness didn't arrive all at once. It seeped in quietly. It showed up in small ways, standing in line somewhere and feeling detached, achieving something I'd worked toward and feeling nothing afterward. I kept moving anyway. Movement was my solution to everything. Then, one day, someone I loved got sick. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just slowly enough that we all thought there was time. I visited when I could. I told myself they understood how busy I was. I told myself there would be more chances. The last conversation we had wasn't special. We talked about the weather, about how traffic had been bad. I left thinking I'd come back soon. I didn't. When they died, I felt something shift. But even then, I didn't fully see it. I mourned, but I also compartmentalized. That was my skill. What I didn't realize was that something else had died too. The belief that I could keep postponing what mattered. Still, old habits don't break easily. I went back to work, back to routines, back to filling the days. The emptiness grew, but it stayed quiet. That's the dangerous part. Loud pain demands attention. Quiet emptiness lets you keep going. Years passed. People drifted. Not in dramatic arguments or final goodbyes. Just fewer calls. Longer gap. Eventually, nothing. I noticed that I was less central to anyone's life than I thought I was. That hurt more than I expected. I had assumed that by being dependable, by being responsible, I had secured my place. But presence isn't something you can earn retroactively. By the time I retired, I thought relief would come. I thought rest would fill the space. It didn't. Without work to lean on, there was nothing buffering me from myself. The days stretched. The silence got louder. That's when I finally understood the emptiness wasn't about lack of success. It wasn't about not having enough. It was about what I delayed until it was no longer available. You can't go back and be present in moments that have already passed. You can't call people who are gone. You can't retroactively show up. Some things expire without warning. I sit here now with time, but not the kind that fixes things, just the kind that lets you see clearly. What I see is this. I lived as if life were a draft, as if the real version would start later. I thought meaning would arrive once everything else was in place. But meaning doesn't wait. It happens while you're distracted. If I could speak to the person I was, I wouldn't tell them to quit their job or abandon responsibility. I'd tell them to stop treating connection like something optional. I'd tell them that feeling empty isn't something to ignore or work around. It's information. I didn't fail at life. That's important to say. I simply postponed it too often. Now, when people ask me what I regret, I don't talk about career choices or money. I talk about all the ordinary moments I was technically present for, but emotionally absent from. I was there, but I wasn't there. That's a strange thing to realize at the end. If you're listening to this and you recognize any part of yourself in it, I'm not here to instruct you. I don't know your life. I don't know your responsibilities. I only know what it feels like to reach this age and understand too late why the emptiness never left. It wasn't because I lacked something. It was because I kept waiting. There may still be time for you, or there may not. You usually don't know until afterward. I don't have much time left now, enough to be honest, enough to sit quietly with what is. Some days are peaceful, some days are heavy, both are real. If this meant something to you, hold on to it gently. You don't need to do anything dramatic. Just don't assume there will always be later. I didn't know that then. I do now.